Hey everybody, welcome back to Double D Vintage Baseball Cards. I've got some epic pickups. I got some things I want to talk about. Most importantly, I have this one card that I have been hunting for 2 years, like the perfect example. Now I have other copies of this card, and I probably had 6 of them that I sold during my great purge of my off-centered cards. And I even had a PSA 8 that was off-centered, not an OC, but also a PSA 8 that was off-centered. I found an example of one that blew my socks off. Absolutely incredible. I look at every one of these that ends on eBay. Oh, I spent hours and hours and hours. Now, that's the type of collector I am. I am a card snob. Absolutely card snob. When I look at my cards, I don't want to see any defects. I don't want to see any issues because I hold these things in my hand and I just stare at them. I break out my loop. I put them on my wall. I'm always looking at my collection in great detail. Ever since my wife started pointing out my off-centered cards, I just realized there's a big difference. And to find specimens of cards with no print dots and clear images and just the most perfect card takes a lot of time and patience, especially if you're not trying to buy a 9 or a 10 in these vintage cards, which I can't afford, and nor would I want to. Even if I could afford these cards, I wouldn't even touch those with a 10-foot pole. I do not understand the concept of a 7 being $300, an 8 being $1,000, and a 9 being 50 grand, and a 10 being astronomical. I think it's absolutely absurd that we're paying for specks on corners. Little mini white specks on corners that you can barely see with the naked eye, and sometimes you can't. And then a lot of the times those 9s and 10s don't even look as good as these lower grades that I'm going after. But yes, it's a hunt. It takes a lot of time to find a perfect example, and it's not for everyone. It does suck the enjoyment out of eBay sometimes. I talk about it all the time. The hunt isn't my favorite thing. I just want a perfect card. So I'm going to share, I'm just going to break it out right now. I have other pickups, but I've been so excited to share with you guys. I'm actually, because I was texting to Mangini literally just 5 minutes ago in our group text, and he's just giving me a hard time. He loves poking the bear, talking about OC cards and all this, and, he just loves messing with me. So I'm going to put on my white glove. My wife has these for her art prints. We cut them out, and I'm going to share this card. But first, I'm going to share another card that goes with it, one that I've had for a long time. And, if I share one, I have to share the other. And that's this 1975 Robin Yount rookie card, mini version. This is almost a perfect specimen. It's a little top to bottom, but it's beautiful. Now, when I buy this card now, I want the centering to be even better and more precise because I have so many already. I just look for perfection. But yes, I will continue to buy these cards and hunt them down. Let me see if I can get there we go. So this thing's clear as crystal. The image. Not any print dots that I really notice on this. Just an outstanding copy of this card. That's what I'm looking for when I look for my cards. And the minis are much tougher to find, well-centered, much tougher to find in the condition that I want. They're way less forgiving in my opinion. Something about them, but I just love the minis. I'm obsessed with mini baseball cards ever since 75 tops. I just love them. They're very, very special cards to me. They really hold a place in my heart. And of course, the Robin Yount being my favorite baseball card of all time. So honored it's in the Hall of Fame, Baseball Card Hall of Fame. So let me put this guy up next to George Brett right here. Move over the picture of me that I found that was on my wall. I forgot to show in my last video with baseball cards in the background and a couple of my Matchbox cars. Well, let me show you guys the card of my dreams. It took 3 weeks for this thing to show up. I just wanted it so bad. This is a Matty C, like, dude, suck it, Matty C. Because Matty C, I love the guy. You know, he's got a lot of money and he hunts down perfect cards. And I do the same thing. And I don't have a lot of money, but we do the same thing. And I've seen a lot of cards that I've lost next day on his Instagram, and I'm like, oh my gosh, well, this one didn't get past me. The image was terrible on the eBay auction, and the image from PSA didn't look even close. It was faded out, and so I took a chance, but I just knew there was no way it wasn't the image was as bad as the PSA scan. And look at this gem. Look at this George Brett 1975 Topps Mini perfection. Absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with this card. You could put this in a 9 slab and you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. In fact, this would probably be better centered than the 9. This card is extremely tough. If you've ever looked for this card, I mean, you'll find pukas, you'll find print dots, off-centered like crazy. If you just want a copy of this card, I totally get it. You can go on eBay in 2 seconds and buy 100 of them. You know, I'm exaggerating, but you could go buy 10, 20, 30 of these probably. No problem. But they're not a single one you're going to see on there except for this one I have highlighted that I use an example of. There's a 9.5 for like 50 grand or something, or 150 grand. And that's what I used as my example. Plus, I have numerous copies of this card already, but this is the most glorious one that I own. Oh my gosh, I'm just like thrilled to death to have this thing. I was telling a friend of mine, texting him, you know, telling everybody I got this beautiful card that I can't wait to share. Even the back is centered. Like, this thing is just insane. The colors on this are just absolutely outstanding. It's a perfect copy. Man, if I come across more like this, which I will continue to hunt these down, I will continue to buy these cards until I'm priced out. Now, this thing, I'll show you the grade, was a 5 or is a 5. Now, I will never be the guy who argues that it doesn't deserve a 5. I could care less on a technical level whether this was graded wrong and it should be a 9, or graded correctly and it should be a 5 or a 7 or a 6. I don't care. I'll never argue that. I really could care less. I'm looking at the card itself. That's what matters to me. I'm not going to crack this open and try to go get a 7 or an 8 or anything else. This is perfect. And when I sell this in the future, you know, when I'm old and dying or whatever, I think the price that I get for this is going to blow what I paid out of the water. And what I paid was way over comps at auction. I paid $150 for this 5. You can go on there and click buy it now on a 5 for like $90 right now. And I bid $166 and I almost didn't win. And so I'm like, dude, that was probably Matty C on the other side because he likes this card too. And I was like, dude, I got it. I got him. I got this card. Now in a 7, you know, you could probably spend $250, something like that. But it's not going to look this good. There's just no arguing. No, I'm a card snob. I get it. But what I texted this morning to the group text I'm in is, you know, every card, beauty isn't just in the eye of the beholder. You know, we always say that, and that's true to a point. Like, centering is not the end-all be-all to everyone, and I get that. Nor should it be, and nor do I want it to be, otherwise these cards would just shoot through the moon. But you cannot argue the fact that all else equal, image, print dots, like everything else equal on the card, And if this was off-centered or centered, centering looks better. You can't argue that. That's what I love about my collection and how I'm going about it, is that the specimens that I'm going after take a long, long time. Years for me to find this like this. If I didn't want to spend 50 grand. Or even in an 8 that's a little off-center, because those 8s, I guarantee you won't find one like this. Definitely not right now, because I've been hunting through them for a long time. And those 8s are 800 to $1,000 or more. People are starting to see it, and you can see the prices climb. And everyone's been talking about how the prices of cards have been going down in vintage. And I've been saying it for a long time now, that the cards I'm buying, I'm still paying over comps for. Like, my cards that I've been purchasing have not been going down. Not in the least. In fact, they've been going up. And I'm not stoked on that, but I also like the fact that the direction I'm going for my collection is working on the aspect of that I think collecting for me is a marriage. Like, I want my cards to be worth more money in the future than they are now. And that's been my goal of collecting. And obviously I want a beautiful looking baseball cards. And the rarity in Topps, the only rarity in Topps, is centering. And of course, when I talk about centering, everything else has to go with it. No print dots, perfect image, all of it to me is included in the centering thing. It's not just centering, but if you can hit all those boxes, that is the rarity in Topps. Not the high grade 9s that were graded in the past that are way off centered, probably trimmed and bleached. Like, those to me are the biggest gamble you could ever make in this hobby. I think those are going to get crushed one day. I could be completely wrong, but I think that high grade stuff that doesn't look high grade or looks trimmed and just doesn't look right has the biggest chance of going down. But even if those continue to go up, cards like this that I overpay for in this 5, $150 for, which most people would think I'm out of my mind if you looked at comps. I don't look at comps for the exact reason I pay for what I think a card is worth. What I am willing to pay for that card at that moment. And at that moment, man, I was going to bid like $250 because I've never even seen a 7 look this good. But I bid $166 and I won it just barely. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was so stoked. I had such a rush after that, such a relief. And when it showed up and it looked even better than I thought, I was just so stoked. So, I don't poo-poo anybody that collects differently than me. I enjoy watching everyone's videos, the way they collect. And their off-centered cards need love too, as Lou Rock will tell you. Absolutely, and those cards are a steal. I mean, you can buy off-centered cards in that 5. You can get that for like $60 to $80 probably. No problem. And the image could look really good. So those cards, to me, they're just more like a dime a dozen. There's so many of them. And that's what I think we're seeing in the market, is that these off-centered cards people are realizing the off-centered cards were printed massively. Like, it's like the base cards of cards today. It's like the modern base card are the off-centered, specimens. And they are becoming cheaper, and anyone who collects them should be stoked because they can continue to buy beautiful cards of the greatest baseball cards of all time for very inexpensive because they're off-centered. For me, I'm going for the gems, those cherry cards, those ones that those bangering cards that you just can't deny the beauty. That's what I'm going for in my collection, amongst other things as well. So, all right, enough said about that. I just want you guys to know that I will never poo-poo your collection. I don't look down on anyone's collection. I love watching everyone's videos. I don't go, oh, that thing's off-center. That's ugly. Oh, I would never own that. Yeah, I might never want it in my collection, but to see the joy that you get from owning that card gets me fired up to go look at my baseball cards. Like, this is my collection. This is how I'm doing it. I'm not trying to talk anyone into doing this centering thing because, be quite frank, it's a nightmare. These things are so rare and so hard to find. And it is crazy because it's a 75 Topps mini George Brett. Why is that rare? Because you never see him dead centered like that. You never see him with the image and all of that included on one card. And then in a low grade, just a cherry on top. Dude, I just love it. So those are my thoughts. You guys already know that, and I'm beating a dead horse. But I like to clarify my collection stance and why I go about doing things. So let me show you guys a few more pickups, some incredible pickups. Dude, I grabbed this for 30 bucks. Another Japanese card. I saw this at auction on eBay randomly. Holy smokes, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a beautiful card. And I'm not a black and white card lover. So instantly I looked up his name, Hideo Fujimoto. And this is a 1952 Bromides JBR 28 in an 8, which I could care less about the 8. I really could care less about anything other than the fact that I just like saw the card. I looked up his name and I go, dude, the guy's a legend. So let me pull up his stats. Let me put his card right here. I got his stats right here. He has the lowest ERA in Japanese history, not only per one season, but also overall. He had a .73 ERA in a season that he pitched like 432 innings. So legit, he won 34 games that year, 1943. Let's look at his overall stats right here. Win-loss record, 200 wins, 87 losses. I really don't think wins and losses mean anything in pitching. I literally could care less about wins and losses. They're overblown in my opinion, because it's all matters what team you're on. What I care about on pitcher stats, the number one thing is the ERA. If it's a 3 or below or 3.5, you're a good pitcher. This is his earned run average in his lifetime, 1.9. He had 63 shutouts. He even had a batting average of 245, 312 hits, 15 home runs. He's in the Hall of Fame, Japan Hall of Fame. Incredible ball player. And I saw this card and I won this thing. It's definitely the highest graded ever, and I think it might be the only one graded ever. And I won it for $33, I believe it was. Blew my socks off. I mean, look at that. Once I get too close with these cards, it starts to get blurry. Oh my gosh, I love it. I've been staring at this thing for like a week and a half, 2 weeks now. The clouds in the background, the stadium back here. I truly love this card. And of one of the greatest ball players ever. Oh, and 35 bucks? Are you kidding me? At auction? No one probably knew who he was. And no one collects, most people don't collect Japanese baseball cards of these great players. So I'm going to continue to go down that path. I just love them. I love them. All right, next one I added to my collection is an ultra modern card. I won this for 29 bucks. And of course, it's my guy, Mike Trout. I'm going to continue to collect gold refractors. This is the gold wave refractor. It really, in hand, this thing is epic. You know what I've noticed about modern cards versus vintage? It's not versus, that's the wrong word, but how I really enjoy my modern cards, it's not when they're on my wall. It's when I'm holding them in my hand and I move them around with the light. Like every time I move this light around, the thing changes color and the reflection. They're really, really beautiful to hold in hand. This thing has a scratch on the case right here. I won this for $29. This is numbered out of 50 because it's in a 9 and it's in a BGS or a SGC holder. And no one likes their modern cards in SGC holders. And this is just random. Me, tops graded, ending soonest. I saw that. I was like, dude, I was like, yes. I think I bid like 56 bucks and won it for 30 bucks or $29. I love this image. I love this card. And I continue to collect Mike Trout cards. I have a few more coming in the mail, more gold refractors. And I like collecting the rainbows of the gold refractors, the different ones. I'm going to continue to do that. I really enjoy them. And I'm just going for the low number golds. Even if it's gold wave or the true golds, I like them all. This next card just really hits the box. Now let's bring up this Mickey Mantle, as this is part of my Mickey Mantle collection. And it goes perfectly with this 2006 Topps Chrome printing plate, 1 of 1, the reverse, where he's batting right-handed. And I picked up this gold 2006 Topps card number 7. And the golds in 2007 are like stamped gold. Really magical. I didn't know that at the time when I bought this card. I bought this for 25 bucks. Made an offer. And this was in a real old slab. But the guy protected this thing like a gem. Just like that last one you saw. Had it in a sleeve. And there's nothing worse than an ugly looking slab itself. I can't stand scratch slabs. And this thing was cherry mint perfection. It even feels really good. I don't know why. It's a really sick card. And this is numbered to 2006 on the back. Just a perfect card for my collection. What an absolute sick card. The golds, I love the golds numbered to the year. And these ones are really special with the stamped border. The way they did the golds that year. And you put these side by side. And there's just no better Mantle cards in my collection than the 2006, because I have that printing plate where he's batting right-handed and the regular card where he's batting left-handed, and putting them side by side. And you guys know I have other versions of this card. It makes my heart skip a beat when it's in my album and I come to that page. I really, really, truly love looking at these and holding these cards. I just love baseball cards, man. They really, anytime, when I'm having a great day, when I'm having a bad day, when I'm having an average day, nothing makes me happier than coming in and looking at my baseball cards. And this is the morning time over here. My wife's working out. And she's like, you want to go make a video? I'm like, okay, yeah, can't tell me fast enough. I was already texting my card buddies, so I had to get after it. All right, I got one more pickup and then another random card that I've had in my collection that basically got upgraded. But this guy I picked up, it's not the perfect specimen. I should have spent a little more time on it. But I think it was $11, and it's going to do the job just fine. I didn't need I'm not going to spend years like I do for the George Brett and the Robin Yount rookie and a few other a lot of other cards. I'm not going to spend that much time on Carlton Fisk 1975 Topps Mini. If I come across, I hunt 1975 Topps Minis all the time, hours and hours on end, and when I find one that looks really good or it's ending, I jump on it. And these regular ones, like this Carlton Fisk, it was pointed out to me that Hugo's Signs of the Pastime did a video of this exact location of this card in Florida, I'm sure, just recently. So I know I watched it, but I don't remember that exact moment. And Shane, Shoebox Legend, I sent him a picture of this card. He told me that. So I can't wait to go back and watch that video and see where this image was taken. I love this card. I don't have it in the full-size version in my collection anymore because it was off-centered. I sold it. To get this in the mini form, just beautiful. It's got a little bit of a tilt to it and a little bit of smudging right here. You can see a little bit white on the corners. Like my George Brett looks 10 times better than this. And it's in a 5 slab. So go figure, and 5s don't have creases or wrinkles or anything, and they don't. Let's look at the back here. Beautiful backs. I love the backs on 75s. They always have a little cartoon right here. I can't read them on camera because I'm looking through the lens as I'm looking through these cards. It's really hard for me to read them. That's why I don't focus on the backs that much when I'm doing videos, because it's really hard for me to read them. But when I'm in my hand, I love reading the backs. I love the cartoons. Oh, just a beautiful card. Sorry about that. To add to my collection of my 75 minis. One of my favorite sets of all time. Actually, probably my most collected set of all time. Probably I have more 75 Topps than I do any other vintage Topps set. Now, last card I'm going to share with you guys is a card that I found in my box And I opened this. I got this from Scott Reindeer Studios. I got a pack that he sent to me through friends that live in Japan that loved my channel. And I pulled this in a pack, back in 2022. Roki Sasaki. Dude, I don't know how to say his name. I apologize. I suck at English, let alone anyone else's names. Like, I literally can barely read myself. So that's why I use Audible and I get books read to me. This thing was in my collection. I came across it. And this is a 10. I'm just super stoked because he's going to become a Major League ball player, supposedly. I'll probably end up selling this. I'll probably end up sending this to PSA and selling this because I don't collect them. I did pull this from a pack and it's meaningful, but I have others that I pulled from the pack that I also slabbed up that I'll keep. But if I saw some of these go for like $200, I was like, dude, that's a no-brainer. So this thing's probably going to be sent to PSA and sold. And I can use it to buy some vintage Japanese cards that I love more. So just a cool card, though. Last thing I want to share is this picture of me in my bedroom as a kid with my buddy Dave Windsor. I've talked about it on my channel a lot. And in the background, you can see baseball cards. See how close I can get. You see a tub of baseball cards, another tub here, shark jaws, and this toy car right here. That looks like what is that? I don't know what that is. I thought that was a Atari game, but you could see this Matchbox car right here. And I should have brought this out. This is on that little shelf that I say is one of my favorites. And that's the truck right there. Right there. And then you could also see my baseball albums. I have these on my wall, this one. And those are those high-grade books with all the things on there. So I just wanted to share this. So we'll end it right here. Thank you guys for watching. And I hope you guys are inspired out there watching other people's videos. As I always say, don't be influenced. And my opinions are my opinions, and they're for my collection. They're not to push you guys into collecting how I do. But I do enjoy sharing my thoughts and opinions and how I go about it. So be inspired. Don't be influenced. Shaka.